Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Farscape, Season 3, Episode 5. Different Destinations. The crew break history, and then they have to fix history, and then they fix it.
Not quite. Don't fix it.
They basically fix it. I mean, those people were probably already dead anyway. Well, maybe not. They did say they lived a really long time. But a kid said that, and she might have been wrong. So, yeah. What did you think of this episode?
She could have been lied to. Anyway, I like this episode because I heard someone say something I never hear in time travel stuff, and that's when Aaron suggests, hey, I'm not going to die so things don't change. And I've never heard someone say that. Every time it's a time travel thing, it's, oh, we have to make sure not to mess anything up. Oops, we accidentally messed something up. Let's fix it as best as we can. And it's always assumed that the future would be worse if you mess up anything in time travel stuff. But here she says it, it's a possibility we could improve the future. It's not always going to be bad. How do we know we live in the ideal?
It likely would be neither better nor worse, just different.
Yeah.
This was a very, very standard sci-fi plot. Go back in time, mess up history, and then fix it. And make a sly escape. Which is why I sound a little bit disdainful when I talk about this episode, but I think it's okay. There's a lot to like in this one.
Yeah, like Jewel drinks some piss.
This is something that I like. They don't like Jewel.
Yes.
Not just they don't like her, they actively despise her.
I was going to bring this up anyway, so good. It's so great that they all find her annoying and they knock her out and complain about her, because that's how I feel. And it would be so weird if they just shrugged her off.
Or they tried to find the good in her. I mean, she's not a bad person. She certainly has some fairly sort of conceited properties, I guess. She is very annoying, and she's kind of unhelpful. But I guess it's just a big reminder that these people are not great people. They try to do generally decent stuff, but yeah, they're just as capable of being frustrated and hating someone as anyone else is. They really hate her though. Channa punched her in her wound.
And then Aaron knocked her out.
Yep. She had a great time. I was just worried her wound was going to get infected because she got shoved into the wall by Dargo.
Oh, right. He was not concerned.
Yeah, they're using her like a human experiment. They chucked her through the time rift and she just landed in this disgusting muddy puddle.
Well, she fussed about that, but she just drank some urine. I don't think I would care so much about mud.
In an open wound?
Okay.
I'm sure they have tech for dealing with that.
Oh, I have one big problem with this episode, even though it's a minor thing and really pedantic.
Go for it.
I hate that the giant eye on the goggles, the pass goggles, whatever, it goes over Stark's metal plate.
Yeah, I wonder if that was deliberate.
I thought, oh, surely someone's going to joke, probably John, hey, does this thing even work for you? And then I can see through whatever. He would say something.
It seems like an oversight or something, like a costume mess up, but yeah, I noticed that too. It's weird because it is like a sort of welding mask that they've glued a lens thing onto. But they glued it on the side that Stark presumably can't see through, but maybe he can. Remember the Gauntlet guy had completely metal eyes and he could see. So maybe Stark can see out of his metal plate. I don't know. That makes no sense because he can take it off. I'm arguing with myself, by the way.
I was going to let it go.
Yeah, that's goofy. There's something obvious that I want to bring up, which I bring up for every time they have standard sci-fi plot number 22, or whatever number this plot is.
36.
Yeah, they go back in time, they change the future, and then the people in the future see the future changing, and that doesn't make sense.
That's really silly. I know why they do it, but I still don't like it.
It means that there's something special about the present time, which makes sense if that's what the universe we live in. It seems to make sense that there's some sort of present time. But once you know you can travel through time to different points, that surely invalidates any special property of the present time, because there's no present time. So everything they would have done in the past would have been done to the completion to the people in the future.
Right.
At least that's how I think of it.
That's how I think of it too, but I try to brush it off. I know the narrative advantage of doing that, because then it makes... Because if you just have Chiana there with the result, then there's no tension, and it just falls flat.
This episode wouldn't be called Different Destinations.
The one destination.
I say it like that because it's got the ellipsis on the start.
Yeah, I got it.
It would just be Single Destination, yeah. It's a narrative choice that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. And also, if a planet is gone, the rings would not stay there.
I don't know enough about planets, but that did seem weird to me.
If the Earth was gone, the moon would not stay where it is.
Right. That makes sense.
So the rings would disperse. They would continue to orbit the sun, but without the gravity of the planet, they would disperse. Shoot off in different directions. Some of them might fall towards the sun and get burned up. Some of them might go further out. It just looked really goofy having the rings there, but not the planet.
It was supposed to be an interesting visual. Look at this thing that's missing that you're used to seeing. But it doesn't work if you know. That doesn't make sense.
I don't think you need to know that it doesn't make sense to feel that it isn't right. But I will give them, it was certainly an unusual visual. Like I said, I generally like this episode, even though I think it's got kind of a mundane plot and is a bit generally silly.
But we had Harvey playing harmonica.
Yep. Did you notice the little Toy Story reference?
Yeah, the very obvious Andy on the bottom of the boot.
Yep.
He had it on both boots, though, which I didn't like.
Yeah, I thought Cowboy Man from Toy Story just has on one boot. I have seen Toy Story. Woody?
Yes.
Woody, yeah, there you go. And his friend, Space Guy.
Spaceman.
Right. My mistake.
I do like this relationship of Harvey trying to help out John. It's self-preservation, because without John, Harvey won't exist anymore. So I really like that he's given into, well, let me just help him out now. I'm stuck in his brain.
Work together. Although Harvey did refuse to offer any suggestions.
I think he saw it as pointless, because whatever you do, he had a regression toward normal or typical, I guess. So whatever they do, it's going to basically shake out to be okay because it already was okay before they got there.
But they knew it changed. I think he just didn't care. I don't think they were going to die.
Yeah, if he thought John were going to die, I think he would take a more active role.
Maybe. Maybe begrudgingly he might, yeah. Hey, here's another thing that wound me up. I don't know why I'm in a rant mood, but here we go.
Was it the Fire Arrow video mail?
No, that was actually the next thing I was going to say about how the arrows kept doing the same footage again and again.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the video email by Fire Arrow was kind of interesting, and they reprogrammed it?
Yeah. I don't understand how they have that technology, but then everything else is so primitive and they're drinking urine.
Well, drinking urine is a perfectly valid medical strategy.
I thought you were going to say pastime.
It is that too, but here's one. If you have diabetes, you can inject the extract from the pineal gland of a pig. You won't die.
Not the pineal gland, the pancreas.
Okay.
Because that's insulin.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah. And you can taste diabetes in someone's piss.
Yeah, it means sweet urine.
Yeah, because it's to do with sugar imbalance. But no, just because something is gross and from a weird place doesn't mean it won't be medicinal. A lot of modern medicines are from natural sources.
That's fair. If something's natural and it works, it doesn't mean advancements in technology are going to change how that works. It was a poor example of what I was getting at.
Aspirin is derived from tree bark. I mean, there's lots of naturalistic medicine that is complete bollocks. But you test them all, and the ones that work get fancy medical sounding names, and then people think they're just magic. A lot of medicines are perfectly natural in origin, and some of them are not. Some of them are very artificial. But yeah, drinking piss definitely can have an effect. There are things that can be transmitted through piss. So it's perfectly believable. Anyway, going back, what wound me up was none of this, really. It was that Stark hinted that every religion was true.
He did?
The little girl asks him what happens when you peg it, and he says, well, it depends on what you believe.
Oh, I interpreted that differently. I thought of it as, I don't know what this girl believes, and I'm not going to trample on what she's been taught or what her culture believes in, so I'll leave this as an open interpretation.
Perhaps. I took it more literally and just assumed he was hinting that all religions are true, because in science fiction, generally all religions that are outside of Earth origin are true. I don't know why, but it just seems like they always are true. Very strange.
And when they're not, it's clearly a cult situation.
Yeah, they're like obvious, like brainwashed cult guys. Or they meet the god or gods of the religion and they're tricking everyone with technology or something like that. If it's not true, they disprove it in that episode. You know, they not just don't believe it, they actively prove that it is false. Hey, what happens if you have a few laser guns and you go up against a bunch of guys with spears?
You win?
Yeah, you really do. I love how they just completely wiped the floor.
I liked that John was made to run around and try to give the impression of a larger army.
He hated that plan, but he did it anyway. So often in sci-fi shows, people are evenly matched. We'll meet some random alien race, and they'll happen to be pretty much technologically equal. You know, the spaceships will shoot at each other and they'll both be about evenly matched.
Yeah.
That would never be the case.
It doesn't make any sense if you take a second to think about it.
Yeah, every civilization would be at a different point in development, and technology develops quite rapidly. I mean, maybe they trade and stuff, but yeah, you would, I expect, usually see one side crush the other. Which, I mean, if you look at the Earth today, there's plenty of countries that would absolutely crush other countries if they went to outright war.
Definitely.
Like, there'd be no contest. So, it's kind of refreshing to see them using sci-fi tech against dudes and just killing so many. I know we never really keep track of body count or anything, but John has usually only killed people when absolutely necessary. But here he was just blasting everyone. Not that it wasn't necessary, but it was quite a few more people than usual.
More than a handful.
He's changed. He was just blowing guys away.
He was kind of having fun with it.
He really has changed. Space changes you.
I like that it didn't end happy.
It's Farscape. They don't go for the low-hanging fruit. Plus,
They don't do happy.
Did they ever have episodes that end on a really upbeat, happy note? Has that ever happened in this show? History's reverted, apart from those people died, and Dargo found the daughter's name carved in the stone, which, by the way... yeah, I'm gonna moan. If it was that easy to carve that you could do it in a couple hours, then I don't think it would still be there after 500 years.
She's an expert carver.
It would imply the rock is too soft.
It was so cleanly etched in, too.
Yeah, it would be eroded if it was easy enough to carve it that quickly.
I did like the false hope we got with that girl when she said, "Oh, we live 700 cycles." And then instantly you think, oh, if they make it back and save them, Dargo could see her as an adult. But then that's dashed away and they all die.
It does open up a kind of plot thread in your mind, like, hey, that could be the conclusion. No, conclusion is that they're dead, and it's all John's fault.
They get a sweet memorial, though.
They should have told the girl to carve, don't put the goggles on Stark into the wall. Causing a paradox, I suppose.
That's not how time travel works in this episode, though.
Time is elastic. Why did Chiana fly out when the planet was gone?
To confirm it's gone and have something to do because she was bored. I think because a planet disappearing sounds bonkers, and so she thought there has to be something else going on. Let me go check it out more closely.
Oh, like the planet is cloaked or something.
Yeah. Maybe our sensors are being fooled.
What do you think of the whole Deacon plotline? I mean, a lot of this episode is actually about him. We haven't mentioned him at all.
Because he's not worth mentioning, really. He's just a cook. I thought it was awkward when they were talking about sacrificing him and how he needs to die, and he was looking at them and smiling.
Yeah,
And that's how it's supposed to be. I'm not complaining. It's just weird.
He's already dead.
Yeah.
It was another rather generic turn where, oh, he's a big hero. No, he's not. Propaganda. A lot of this episode seemed to rely on fairly generic stuff. So generic plot twists and predictable things. It's not usual that Farscape has such a formulaic episode as this one.
Without some sort of twist.
Yeah. I don't know what twist they could have added.
That's not our jobs. Our jobs is to moan and complain about every little thing.
Well, I've certainly been doing my job.
I did like some things, like General Lion Face guy.
Grimes. Grinds, even.
Okay.
Yeah, the makeup on him was pretty good.
It's especially good if you consider how little screen time he gets. I guess he gets a good amount, but his makeup seemed kind of elaborate for a guy who shows up and then dies.
He had maybe a couple minutes screen time. Maybe three minutes. I thought his makeup was good. If there's ever a good sci-fi adaptation of Larry Niven's Ringworld, I'd like to see the cat dudes in that look like Grinds, whatever his name is.
And as much as I complain about Jewel, I do like her accent. Is that okay to say?
She's really Australian.
And I really like Australian accents. So this whole series has been wonderful.
There are definitely things to like about Jewel. She's probably not going to flourish in an environment like Moya's. And she certainly has some serious character flaws, but
She could change.
she could
Maybe.
change. Yeah, sure. Do you have a quote from this episode which you would like to share?
Fear is good. Keep that. But travel light. Forget hate.
You're picking some real philosophical stuff. Well, that's not really philosophical. I thought you might pick Jewel screaming, "I got shot at a peace memorial," because that was genuinely quite a funny line.
There's no fighting in the war room.
Yeah. Yes. I like that Stark says, "Yeah, you should be afraid of things."
That's why I picked that line. It's so important. It's so important. Fear is a gift, and we've survived as long as we have because of fear. It's useful, and it's often talked about as a bad thing and how you're a coward, whatever. But fear is very helpful, and we need to make use of it.
Instinct survived the last 1,000,000+ generations of your family, didn't die. I mean, there are other reasons, but instincts didn't lead them astray, or they would have died and not had children.
Good for them.
So yeah, trust your instincts to an extent, but yeah, definitely. How many times have you heard people say, "Oh, yeah, I always thought there was something weird about that guy"?
And then they're a terrible person.
Yeah, that's someone turns out to be terrible, whether it's a acquaintance or a celebrity or whatever, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I always got a weird feeling about that guy," or my gut told me, etc., etc. Follow your instincts. The worst you can be is wrong, which is not that bad. It's not bad to be wrong about things.
I think it's often dismissed because it's not academic. Oh, I get this feeling in my stomach. That's not rational.
Yeah. Here's a thing. They got some birds, right? And they bred them in captivity where they could not build nests
Oh,
for 5 generations.
wow.
And then introduced nest building stuff into the environment. And the great grandchildren of the original birds built nests.
That's awesome.
This is fairly common in nature. You see spiders building webs, fairly intricate webs. And not all spiders build webs. They use webbing in tons of weird and unique ways. If you look it up, they use it as safety ropes. They use it to make traps and fight with and all sorts of stuff. That's all instinct. All of that. So there is fairly good science that instinct is more than just a funny feeling. It can be genetic learning, I think it's called. Things built into you that make you know things. Just like when you get hungry and you want very specific food, is usually because you need a certain nutrient. And this happens a lot when people are pregnant. They'll get crazy cravings, but usually there's an actual reason why they have these cravings.
But that's not as fun as saying the cravings are crazy.
People like things to make sense, even if they don't have all the understanding of how it works. And how do you get hungry for very specific foods? How does your brain know that, you know, you want to eat dirt because you've got a really serious iron deficiency? How does it know?
Lots of practice.
It's confusing. Brains are confusing. So yeah, people are just like, oh, it's crazy. Don't trust your instincts. They're just crazy. It's just your brain solving things without you understanding why. I like the line you picked. When you said it, I was like, that's a bit bland. But now that I think about it, that is a good line.
Maybe you should go back in time and tell yourself and save yourself the 2 minutes it took to win you over.
Yeah. The quote's okay, and don't let Stark wear the goggles. That's what I will carve in stone. Really squishy, soft, like sandstone type stone that would not be there after 500 years. Urgh!
Well, we're assuming that's done by the little girl. We can't read what she wrote. Maybe that was already there and Dargo's becoming sentimental over some graffiti.
Just like a sign, like kitchen this way.
Yeah. All employees must wash hands.
All employees must watch the next episode.
Well, I'm an independent contractor. I'm not.
You have to do it
employed.
anyway.
Oh, all right.
Let's do it.
Doing it.